Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to the F5 training. So we will cover in this training F5 LTM module. Okay. So let's discuss something about the F5, right? So we will discuss further. So F5 is F5 is the company name, right? Okay. So F5 Networks it's a US based company, okay, technology company that provide the products and services to help the customer secure and create and operate the applications, right? So F5 was founded in 1996 and its headquarters in the Seattle, Washington. Okay, it has 75 offices in 43 countries right now. F5 originally offered application delivery controller, which is ADC technology, but expanded into application layer automation, multi-cloud, and security. Slowly it's growing, right? So F5 the launch is first. So F5 originally named F5 Labs and formally branded the F5 networks now it's called F5 network. It's very stable in the 1996, right? In 1997 they launched the first product a load balancer which is called Big IP, right? So F5 is the company name, right? And they have the product like Big IP, right? Under the Big IP we have the LTM, we have the GTM, we have the ASM, we have the ASM, we have the APM, right? SSLO, and many more, right? So Big IP serve the purpose of the reallocating the server traffic away from overloaded servers, right? So let's continue. So this was the basic about the F5, right? And what we will cover in our F5 in this course. So we will discuss about the introduction of the Big IP system, right? And TMOS architect, right? So TMOS is basically it's a operating system which we are using in the F5, right? However, we have the also now F5 OSH also. We will discuss further. Okay, initial setup and components. Okay, so what we will do in this, we will configure the F5 from scratch, right? Scratch means we will build F for F5. We can say building of F5, right? Configuration, right? So means that means we will start from scratch, right? So initial setup and component. Type of load balancing, right? So we have the different type of load balancing. Maybe it's static and dynamic, right? So we have and also we will discuss about the type of monitor, right? And why it's required. So we we have the content monitor and the service based monitor, right? We have everything. And we will create the custom monitor as per the requirement, right? Also we will discuss profiles and their usage. So profile is also the important one, right? So we have different type profile. So what is the profile? Why we will why we are using the profile in the F5, right? And we can say why, what, when. Okay. So when we need to use, why we are using, okay, what is the profile? Also we'll discuss this is also an SSL profile. So we will we will maybe use the SSL offloading as per the requirement, SSL bridging, SSL pass through, right? So it is basically we will configure based upon application team requirement, right? In production environment. But we will create, or we will do the lab all three, right? We will create one lab with the SSL offloading, second with the SSL bridging, and third with the SSL offloading, right? And also we will use net and SNet. Okay, so net is the different topic. Okay, netting, and this is the SNet. Okay, under the SNet we have the auto map, none, and SNet pool, right? So we will discuss deep dive where we need to use auto map, where we need to use none, where we need to use SNet pool, right? And where we need to use this SNet feature. So we will deep dive into the features, right? Let's move forward. So we already discussed about the net SNet, right? Now come to the self IP and floating IP, right? So we always use the self IP in F5. Okay. So we require the self IP, like for example, we have VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, right? And this is 10.26.1.0/24. It may be 10.31.0/24, and this is also 10.40.1.0/24, right? So these are all the different networks. So from each VLAN, we need one self IP, to configure the on our F5, right? So we will discuss where we need to configure the self IP, right? And uh, self and the floating IP as well. Okay, so the self IP and floating IP. So self IP we also required, and if we have the devices under HA, right? So we also need the floating IP. Okay, so the floating IP used in HA. Okay, so once you fail over devices for example, you have two F5 right now. This is your active F5, and this is your standby F5, right? So whenever this device will move to the active state and this is standby, so your floating IP will be moved to the active one. Okay, we will discuss deep dive into our course, right? But this is something I brief about what is the difference between self IP and floating IP. I rules. So I rule is basically a language. Okay, we can say a script as well, which is based on TCL, tool command language, right? So it's a script, okay, and this is the very good feature in the F5. So with the I rule, you can divert your traffic accordingly your requirement, right? According to your requirement. And also if you need to match the some condition, for example, you are receiving one traffic from 192 to 168 from 1.0/24, and this is 10.26 1.0/24, and we have 172.16 dot something slash 24, whatever, right? We have, so what we are defining that, okay, whenever this is the source, the my traffic will be moved to the pool one, and whenever this source the traffic can move to the pool two, and whenever this source the traffic can move to pool three. So the all we can cover in the I rule, right? So I rule is the best feature, right? Also you can means in the I rule you can allow or deny whatever you require, whatever the traffic you want to deny or allow, right? Also with the help of I rule you can redirect the traffic, right? lots of like in the features we have under the IRO, right? This is your HA, high availability and cluster, like so we will discuss like why HA is like mandatory, how we can configure the HA, and what is the like the requirement to configure the HA, right? If you have like one F5 here, right? And maybe in between you have something firewall, right? And you have the other F5 here. So which type of port we need to open, like to communicate with each other. So this we will discuss, right? The interesting point, like the people are doing every year or whenever, like they need to like upgrade the F5, right? So like every year, like we are upgrading the F5 to the latest version, latest greatest version. Or whenever, like if we received any vulnerability or something, then we, or if like F5 is recommended to upgrade the F5, so we are upgrading the F5, right? So in this case, right, what is happening, like you are just upgrading your F5 from current version to the latest version. So C means like we can say current, and this is latest version, right? So we will discuss like before upgrade what we need to do, right? What is the prerequisite, okay? And where we need to download the image, how we can push the image to the F5, how we can upgrade. So all, and after upgrade, like how we can test that okay device is upgraded and how means it's working properly or not, right? The next is like the troubleshooting. So troubleshooting, you always like we will start the course, okay, and we will end the course. So everywhere, like the troubleshooting part will become, because whenever you will stuck in any issue or any stage, like we need to do troubleshooting. So this is like we will start from scratch, and like it will become till end, okay. We will discuss IAPS, administrator like user creation, right, partition, and lots of things like we will discuss. Command like in line, for example, we need to create LTM virtual, right, pool. We need to reset the password, right? It may be your admin password, it may be your root password, right? So we will like cover everything in the CLI also. So in the F5, right, we have two options, like you can handle your device with the GUI mode and also CLI mode, right? So but some people are like interested to work in the CLI, some in GUI, right? So we will like cover both of them, right? And in the troubleshooting, like we will discuss also TCP dump, right? And all. Let's move further. So this is like something kind of introduction of the big IP, right? So big IP F5 LTM, local traffic manager, is an application domain controller, or it's a delivery controller that manage the delivery of the application and services, right? F5 can be deployed and used as a physical hardware, virtual, or in the cloud environment, right? So physical means, so now we have like the physical F5 and we have the virtual F5. Under the virtual, we can deploy the on the VMware and like whatever the virtual environment we are using, or we can use like the cloud environment, right? It may be your AWS, it may be your GCP, right? So we can deploy, right? If you require physical, on the physical boxes, like we have the benefit, like we have the high throughput and also, right? So physical boxes have like the, we can say, they are like very powerful boxes, right? In virtual, like you have the limited throughput as compare which, right? F5 has multiple modules that are designed to fulfill each requirement, right, as per the customer requirement, right? So for example, we have this LTM, right? We will cover all the LTM only in this course, right?